Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unbalanced with me, Cerys Davage. This is a very special episode because not only is this my 50th episode of Unbalanced, which is just insane, this is the first time I'm having more than one guest on the podcast, the first time I'm doing a video recorded version of an interview, and I'm in a new location today. I'm in my family home. So if you are able to watch the video version, I strongly recommend that you do, because this is going to be a really special one today. Because today I've got my parents on the podcast. Hello.
Shemai.
Shemai.
This is a bit weird because we usually speak to each other in Welsh. Welsh is my first language. You guys raised me in Welsh, but we're going to do it in English so that no one's missing out on this episode. So obviously I know you guys pretty well, but please introduce yourself to us. Who are you?
Hi, my name's Julia Davage and I'm your mum. And I was born and brought up in Cardiff. We're in Cardiff today, and I was brought up a couple of miles up the road from here. And I'm currently a primary school teacher, which means that I teach children from the ages of about 5 to 11 in a Welsh medium primary school.
My name's Marcus, and I was born and brought up in the Welsh Valleys, now live here in Cardiff, and I'm a software developer for an American software company.
Okay, so obviously we have two things to cover today. We have my LGMD and my celiac, and I'm sure that there are different parts of raising me that, you know, the celiac and the LGMD took over in different parts of my life. So yeah, tell me a bit about, I guess, the first steps of the journey, the first symptoms, and I guess the first time you had to go to the hospital.
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Well, you were never really a good eater as a baby, always turning your head and turning away food and not eating. We went through so many trials and tribulations trying to get you to eat, and we went from doctor to health visitor and even got you under a child psychologist who gave some recommendations which sort of helped but didn't quite get to the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm. So that would take us from the age of about 1, when we noticed that you weren't doing finger foods and things yourself, up to about 5 or 6. And by this time you had a baby sister, Caddy, and by the time you were 5 and she was 3, you were about the same size, because you just weren't growing very well, weren't putting on weight. And people said it's fine because I'm quite short, therefore, you know, you'd probably be quite short. But we noticed that you had quite an extended tummy, but your arms and legs were very skinny, and Caddy actually weighed more than you, even though she was 2 years younger. You'd stopped putting on weight then. About the age of 5 or 6, you actually shrunk. you lost weight, and it took till you were nearly 7 when the doctor said, well, I think maybe we should refer you to the hospital. Is there any bowel disease in your families? And I said, well, actually,
there's celiac disease in my family. My auntie had it, my uncle had it, his daughter has it, and it's just all over my side of the family. I don't have it. I've been tested many times since your diagnosis, but when I answered that, he went, and the little light bulb turned on.
Yeah, so basically when you were 7, you were diagnosed with celiac disease.
It's quite funny because obviously I've heard this story from you guys a lot, but obviously I don't really remember much of it. The only bits I can really remember was the fact that my belly was huge, and I used to get picked on in school for it, and also I would share clothes with Caddy, and people often thought that Caddy was older than me because she was taller than me, right?
Yeah, and all people thought you were twins.
Yeah, which is still the case to this day, but you know. But now actually Becca's the tallest, isn't she? So
yes. Becca looks more like you than Caddy does.
She does, yeah. So people think we're twins or we're triplets or whatever. So yeah, obviously finally got the diagnosis. The alarm bells were ringing once you realised that celiac disease was in all of Dad's family. But what happened after that? You know, the journey clearly wasn't over.
No, well, that you'd have thought might have been the end of things, but it was really only the beginning. So the doctors mentioned to us when you were diagnosed with celiac disease that your liver enzymes were very high, but they said that was quite common if a celiac is eating gluten, and they expected them to come down once you went on the gluten-free diet. So we did that, and they carried on testing your bloods. Do you remember having to go every week to the hospital to have bloods?
Yes, all the time. It just felt like, honestly, once a week, like, oh, another blood test. And you would think that I'm over that now and that I'm completely immune to blood tests, but I'm still terrified of them.
You were literally like a pincushion. You had so many holes in you. So
I know where my good veins are now. Like, if they need to take a blood test, I know exactly. I'm like, yeah, it's this one here. Like, yeah, just take it. You don't need to bother looking. Like, I know my body by now.
So after several months, they noticed that your liver enzymes were still very high, and they strongly suspected that you had a problem with your liver because autoimmune liver disease or autoimmune hepatitis quite often goes hand in hand with celiac disease, because that's an autoimmune disease as well. So when you I think you were about 8 by this time, they sent you to Birmingham Children's Hospital for a liver biopsy, and that came back negative. So they said, well, maybe it's just taking a bit longer than we thought for this to go back to normal. So carry on with the diet, carry on with the blood tests. And about 10 months later, they did another liver biopsy, and which also came back negative. And apparently then there was a big meeting in Cardiff between the hepatologist and the gastroenterologist and paediatricians, and they discussed your case. And the hepatologist wanted to put you on steroids for your liver, but the gastroenterologist, bless him, looked through your notes and said, oh, that's strange, there's one blood test we've never done, and that's your CK. Maybe we should check that just to rule it out, because, you know, that could cause the liver enzymes to be high as well. And then he phoned us, do you remember?
Yeah.
He phoned us one day and he said, oh, we've discovered that Cerys's CK, the normal range is under about 100 or 150 or so, and yours was 10,000 plus. So, in fact, we don't think it's a problem with her liver. We think it's a problem with her muscles, and we've referred her to a neurologist.
So, and what's CK?
CK is creatine kinase, which is a measure, shows that if it's high, it shows that muscle is breaking down into your bloodstream, which is not a great thing. And it's very common with anybody who has any kind of muscular dystrophy, or also trauma can cause it if you have a car crash or something as well.
So I then got referred to the neurologist. At this point, you're like, did you just want an answer, or were you just like really worried about my future?
It was about answers. How did you feel when Cerys actually had the celiac diagnosis?
I was relieved, because it was an answer to why you weren't eating, why you weren't growing, and I was like, oh, it's celiac disease. Oh, I know that, and I know it can be solved. And as soon as you were on the gluten-free diet, everything was better, and you started growing again, although not much, because you still got your mother's short genes. But that was good, and it was a relief. But with the LGMD diagnosis, it was like, okay, this is different. This is into the woods. This is a different pathway going on, and I don't know where it's going to lead.
So you were referred to the neurologist, and they obviously found that your CK was high, so said you need to have genetic testing. So we sent more bloods off, and that took quite a long time. That was sent to Newcastle, and I think it took about 5 or 6 months to get a result from that. And we went to see the neurologist, and she said, we found out which type of muscular dystrophy it is. It's limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. It's not the worst news you could have. It's a progressive disease, so Cerys doesn't have any symptoms now, but it's likely that she'll become weaker in the future.
That must have been so much to take in, and you know, after finally getting the diagnosis for celiac, and obviously I'm too young, I'm not going to be able to digest all of this or really know what the future holds. I'm just a kid, you know. I had all my trust in you guys, you know. I had some problems. I was constantly going back and forth from the hospital, but I thought, you know, like my parents have got this, you know, it'll get fixed. So what were your thoughts then going from there, thinking, okay, well, Cerys's future is going to be affected?
Interesting. This was interesting news. It was a journey that we'd never been down on. But I had, as Christians, we believe that God is in control, and I had total faith in God that he will make our paths straight, because we trust in him and he looks after us. So I had no fear, but I trusted in God that he would make things, he would give us the grace to go through whatever life was going to throw at us. And so we basically wanted you to have as normal a life as you could possibly have, and do all of the things that normal families do. Give the impression that we're a normal family anyway. And so we did things like go on summer holidays. We took you skiing. We climbed Snowdon at Wyddfa. Yes. It's the highest mountain in Wales. Google it.
England and Wales.
Yeah.
We should.
Sorry, you know Mam's prepared for this. She's like spoon feeding him the lines. I love it. You're just like me.
We went through and we said, right, which questions are you going to answer, Marcus? We should mention here as well that not long after you were diagnosed, we had genetic counselling in hospital and discussed about having whether we should test Caddy and Becca. And there was discussion about whether it's better for them not to know when they're older, whether they have a right not to know. But also we felt by this time you were having a lot of medical care, more monitoring. You didn't really have symptoms, but they were keeping an eye on your heart and your lung function and, your physical strength. And we thought that if one of them, as we thought at the time, Caddy or Becca, did have the muscular dystrophy, then they could grow up. If they weren't tested, they could say, well, Cerys had all this care all the way through her childhood and teen years, and we didn't, and we had to wait till we were 18 to find out. So we did actually first initially have their CK tested, and we had a phone call that both of their CKs were high, and that was confirmed then with genetic testing as well. So then we had a family with 3 girls that we knew were going to lose muscle power and had the muscular dystrophy. So yeah, we did try to do lots of experiences with you. We wanted to create memories as a family, and so that you would be able to say, well, at least I did that while I could. Do you think that was a good thing that we did, or does it make you sad now that you can't do some of those things? Throw it back to you.
Yeah, you're just as good as I am. You should start your own podcast.
Oh.
But I do want to say I'm so grateful now, looking back, that I have been able to, go skiing. I don't think I could go skiing now. I definitely couldn't climb any kind of mountain now, let alone the tallest mountain in England and Wales.
You can't climb the stairs.
I can't even climb the stairs. So, and, we also did a lot of hiking with other family friends and things as well. Bike rides. We did a lot of bike rides. And maybe at the time I didn't appreciate it enough. So that's the only thing I think when I look back at this, obviously now I'm very aware about, how much I'm going to lose. You never know what activities I won't be able to do in the future. So I'm just trying to make the most of what I can still do. But as a child, I wasn't aware of that concept as much. So I wasn't climbing up Snowdon thinking, wow, this is great. This is like the only chance I'm going to be able to do this. Or I wasn't skiing thinking this is the only chance I'll have. I wasn't thinking, take it all in. I was just a kid thinking skiing is really hard, or I was like crying climbing up Snowdon.
You were whizzing down the mountains. You loved it.
I really loved it. I think
once you got the hang of it.
Once I got the hang of it, and it did take me some lessons, beforehand. And I'd broken my arm actually on a dry ski slope in Wales before we went on skiing. Anyway. Yeah, I think I just look back now and I'm just really grateful that you guys knew this. You guys knew to give me the experiences before I knew. Do you know what I mean?
Before you realised.
Before I realised that the condition would mean that I would lose a lot of things. I'm like translating everything in my head. This is so weird. I'm doing everything in English, so my English might not be great. I'm acting as if I'm a learner still. But I think what I'm trying to say is you guys knew how much the condition would take over my life and take things away from me. So you wanted to give me those experiences before it was too late. Yeah, right. We got there.
Also, we were very aware that you could have been on the lookout for symptoms as they started, and they were likely to start in your kind of preteen or early teen years. And we didn't want you to be constantly aware of, oh my goodness, that was a bit hard today, it could have been just because you were tired, or so we, even though you knew that you had a muscle problem and you were going to the hospital and having all these tests and things, we didn't tell you the name of the disease. Do you remember that? Because we didn't want you Googling and then suddenly thinking, oh my goodness, look at what's going to happen to me. We wanted you to be able to enjoy life to the full, and also when the first symptoms came on, that they were actually real, that you weren't kind of looking for them, because you were a bit of a hypochondriac, to be fair, because of all the things you'd been through, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that must have been difficult, because back to the celiac, I was like I always felt ill, you know, in school. I remember telling the teachers, oh, can you call my parents because I'm not feeling very well? And they'd be like, oh, here we go. And I'm sure you guys would be like, oh, here we go, another phone call.
I'm a teacher. I have that all the time in school.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So you're probably thinking, oh, Cerys wants to, you know, ditch school again or whatever. But I think it was a very wise move from you guys to not tell me, because also I didn't have a label to attach my symptoms to. So I was just going through it as me. I was just experiencing what I was going through and not having any expectations, because now that I know the name of the condition, now that I know a lot of other people with the same condition, I'm always comparing my symptoms to other people. But growing up, I only had myself to go off. I didn't have anything else to compare it to, which I think was really nice because it didn't put any pressure on me in a way.
Also, everyone who has LGMD has a different experience anyway. The symptoms are slightly different. So you just needed to look at how you were, really.
Exactly, because I know that there are more aggressive forms of LGMD, and I'm sure if I Googled it, the symptoms definitely won't match what I have, because like you said, every experience is unique.
And it was quite new at that point. I think you were diagnosed only about 8 years after that particular gene had been found. So they didn't really have case history studies of whole lives of people going through these symptoms. So the medical world still was finding out more about it as well.
Yeah, that's also a good point. When I was first diagnosed with this, were you connected with other people with, you know, going through the same situations? Was it quite a lonely experience for you? What was that like?
Yeah, there was nobody else around that we knew of. So in that respect, yes, it was quite lonely.
Because it's rare. There's nobody around. That we didn't know.
No, we didn't know them. There was nobody around.
Because it's a very rare disease.
Yeah, but we did have the medical community, and they were absolutely fabulous. But recently, we've just been introduced to so many people with LGMD as part of the community. We've been to Iowa to the District Lycanopathy Conference. We've met so many fantastic people like Kelly, and the medical community, Volker and Jean-Pierre. They've just been absolutely fabulous, and the community of patients is just tremendous. There are people out there now, and so, you know, my recommendation to other parents would be just try and find a community that you can hook into, because they're a great support network.
But when we say community, this isn't people that live around the corner that we can meet for coffee every week. There's no like local support group or anything, because it's such a rare disease. There's only a handful of people even in Wales with this disease. So it's a worldwide community, and it's connections through, you know, Facebook and on the internet and through international conferences and things like that. But yeah, it's been great for us the last few years. But I think the beginning of your journey was very lonely for us, because we didn't have those connections at that time.
I want to fast forward to now. Obviously, I'm 23. I had to think about that for a second. I've moved out, and you would think, you know, obviously your 3 daughters are now all 18. We're all quite independent, but there's still that aspect of dependency in a way, because obviously I'm affected more at the moment than Caddy and Becca. I still need a bit of help when I'm around you guys. What's that like? Because I'm sure you were all looking forward to us being 18 and, you know, flying off the nest.
Our job is done. Our job here is done.
Finally looking forward to having your own time by yourselves again. But we're never really going to go away properly, because, you know, we are going to need some help, and there's still a lot of admin to do. You know, Mam is just amazing at sorting all the admin, because it's endless, especially with the 3 of us, and you have all our medical documents and everything.
Files. We have a whole shelf of files. Disability admin is just amazing.
We're actually hoping to build a room at some point of just the files. It's just going to be called like the symptoms room, you know?
The symptoms.
I have to say, Dad always jokes about our family being called the symptoms, which is hilarious, because between us we have a lot. You know, Becca also has a nut allergy. Growing up, I had an egg allergy, and Caddy had a milk allergy. Caddy's got the stammer. You know, between us and, you know, actually my parents, you guys have got enough going on as well. So yeah, we're a pretty problematic family.
Cerys. Everyone thinks we're a nice, normal family.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm like exposing us here. I mean, do they though?
Well,
maybe not.
But I have to get you in it, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. They know enough about me, so I'm sure everyone's got their reservations about you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, but anyway, we're still quite dependent on you guys. What's that like now as parents of adults?
Mm-hmm. I think it's been an interesting learning curve for us, because as you've all grown and become more mature, emotionally and in the way that we would want you to, you've become less able physically. And so you're more independent in one way, but then you're more dependent in another way. And physically, you're more dependent on other people to help you. So it's a difficult balance for us, isn't it, to know how much we let you fly and almost make mistakes and struggle maybe because you kind of need to work that out for yourselves. But then how much do we step in? Because, of course, we don't want to see you struggle. We want to see you do really well. And then also, like with you, with Tristan now, hope that other people will be able to come in and fill that void when we can't. Caddy's away in uni, Becca will be going hopefully next year, and we won't be there the whole time, so that other people will be able to help, and therefore you're more independent from us, in every way then. Yeah,
being a parent never stops. Even though you're all grown up now, I still get phone calls. Dad, I got a flat battery. Or Dad, I got a flat tyre. Mm-hmm. And I've had to deal with the flat tyre from several hundred miles away. So being a parent never stops. But it's absolutely great to see the three of you going your own paths. You doing this and with your job in Cardiff, and Caddy in university, and Becca doing her A-levels and going to university next year. You've got plans, you've got wishes, aspirations, and you're forging your own paths, and it's still nice to be depended on, even as your mum does a lot of the admin. That still needs to be done. Yes, you're taking more responsibility for your own admin, medical admin, but it is nice to be depended on, and maybe that will decrease as your independence grows.
I want to say as well that we're really proud of all of you, aren't we? At the things that you're doing and the things that you're achieving, and especially, Cerys, your attitude, because you don't let this get you down. I think mentally you're in a very good place, and emotionally, even though you have so much to deal with and you could, crumble into a heap and thinking about what might happen in your future, but you have such a positive outlook. And I think that's been an answer to prayer for us, for you as well. And yeah, we're just incredibly proud. And I hope that you'll always know that you can turn to us for help when you need it. My mum is 90 and I still phone her for advice, so I'm always here.
Having said that, you're more likely to crumble into a heap physically rather than emotionally.
And on the subject of humour.
That's so funny. Well, thank you guys. That really means a lot. And I'm glad you appreciate being depended on, because that's not going to stop. I tell you that. Yeah, so on that subject, like you said, we're quite a humorous family, I'd say. Mostly Dad, always cracking dad jokes, as you should. That's your job. And Mam providing the eye rolls to the jokes. That's just, it's that's your job. Yeah, it's a part of every family. Every family everywhere. And we do deal with this a lot, with humour, and I think it's really important personally. Do you think it's just a nice way of dealing with it? And I guess it's a way to open up a bit more. But yeah, do you think humour is an important role in this?
Why are you passing the microphone to me?
Because you're the funny one. Yeah. Sometimes.
Yes, definitely. Humour is very important. We can have digs at each other because we can be open with each other and bare our hearts and be raw with each other. But it's also a safe place because, you can relax and be loved unconditionally. And there is that emotional foundation. I couldn't think of the English word. There is an emotional foundation there that allows you to laugh and cry and ask for advice and tell people to go away.
Be yourself.
And be yourself, be real, and just have a laugh, because you'd cry otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's part of a way of dealing with it. We can have quite black humour sometimes, can't we? You know, like joking about you falling over. I don't think other people could do that, but we're kind of allowed to, but we have to be aware of where the limit is, not to kind of push that too much. But
I have to say, Mam, you are the person who probably pushes that line more than anyone. Like, I think Dad's jokes are expected. Yours are just sometimes just so unexpected. They're almost uncalled for. I'm like, wow, you really dug deep there. But again, like you said, you know, not many people would be able to or be comfortable doing that. So I'm glad that, you know, we are so close as a family that you can feel comfortable doing that.
And I think it's part of your positive outlook as well, that you're willing to laugh at yourself. And I think we all need to be able to laugh at ourselves in life, you know.
I mean, why else would I call my podcast Unbalanced?
Exactly.
If I couldn't laugh at myself, you know. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think we're very lucky as a family to be so close that we can joke around with each other and be honest in maybe a jokey way, but also in a serious way sometimes. But that never lasts long, you know, we always break a joke afterwards.
Yeah.
And going back to parenthood, there's always that fatherly care that pops up inside me whenever you need help. We went golfing once, the adventure golf, and you went back to your car, we went home, and then you phoned up later to say that you'd collapsed, you'd had a weak leg and you fell in front of just as you were going into the car. I just wanted to rush up and give you a hug, or roll back time so that I could walk you back to the car so that you wouldn't fall over. It was that like fatherly care and compassion that I just wanted to make things better.
So yeah, it's okay to laugh and it's okay to cry together and everything in between.
Yeah, and that must be quite hard. Like you said, obviously I don't live with you guys anymore, so you don't have the control over where I fall or whether I fall. So it must be quite difficult to be able to just let that happen and not be in control of that. But yeah, that was a very difficult day actually, and I'm just really glad that I had you guys to just phone up just to cry about it, because it is important to cry about it sometimes.
It was my birthday last year.
It was, yeah, it was a year ago. Yeah, I think I was just having like a tough day physically anyway, and that was just kind of the last straw, the icing on the cake in the most negative way. But yeah, I think when you do have such a positive outlook, it can sometimes be tiring to just, I mean, I'm not necessarily bottling it up. It's just kind of pushing it to the back of my mind, being like, yeah, I'm not going to let this take over my life. But it is really important to have those moments where you let yourself become vulnerable for a few seconds and just cry it out, because life is tough anyway, right? Like, we all have stuff going on, and if we just ignored it all, then we'd implode, you know?
It's a matter of perspective, I think, as well. You know, you can let a little thing become massive to you, but you're very good at keeping things in a right perspective, I think. You know, there are people who have it worse than us in the world, and there are people who have it better, but, you know, it's just being grateful for what we have.
Yeah, I think that's what keeps me going, is the fact that I know other people are much worse off, so I just stay grateful. We've covered a lot of the LGMD part of it. I guess the celiac isn't really as much of an issue now because there is a cure, a gluten-free diet. I'm sure that wasn't very easy when I first got diagnosed, and obviously now Caddy and Becca are both celiacs. How have you found the gluten-free world now in comparison to when I first got diagnosed? Initially,
it was, I wouldn't say traumatic, because that's a little bit of a drama queen adjective. But I would say it was, it did take a lot of getting used to. We had to have separate chopping boards, separate everything, butter, jam, just literally everything had to be gluten-free version and a non-gluten-free version.
Nutella, which was your favourite?
Yeah, and going out was such a pain because very few restaurants could even spell celiac. let alone understand what it means.
Yeah.
And gluten-free was just a Los Angeles fad diet, and it was really difficult. But over the last few years, there are so many restaurants and supermarkets which have gluten-free provisions, and it's just, I can relax, you can relax. Mostly you go to restaurants and you just say, I'm a celiac, and mostly they say, yeah, fine, we can sort you out. And if they can't, well, you just find somewhere who can. Life has become a lot easier, but to begin with, it was just so difficult going on holiday, shopping in French supermarkets.
Taking everything with us.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Took everything with us.
We have a freezer box about this big that we can take on holiday with like so much food in. And we have to get letters to get through airport security and stuff.
Yeah, we had a letter from the doctor to allow us to have an extra suitcase just full of gluten-free food.
Yeah. We should mention that Caddy and Becca were diagnosed. Caddy about 3 years after you, I think, with celiac disease. Becca was only diagnosed 3 years ago when she was 15. But you did have other allergies, as you mentioned before. So at certain points during your childhoods, I would have one plate which had to be egg and milk free, one plate which had to be just milk free, one plate which had to be gluten free, and us which could eat everything. And I used to say, look, when I'm dishing out the food, nobody talk to me because somebody will get the wrong thing. And I had to work out, different versions of different meals, like, if we had pasta, or then we had a sauce, could it have milk in or not? And now we're down to just 3 celiacs and 1 allergy, but everybody can have egg, though Becca doesn't really eat them, and everybody can have milk apart from me now.
And if that doesn't sum up our family, I don't know what does. Like, genuinely.
And the 3 muscular dystrophies. But.
Well, yes. I think we've covered that. Yeah, honestly, fair play to you guys. I mean, I think that has built you guys even stronger. You know exactly what to do when it comes to cross-contamination, when it comes to fighting for your rights in airport securities, when the ice packs in the freezer bag set off the system, set off the alarms, exactly, you whip out that doctor's letter and you know exactly what to do. And I was asked this question recently, actually. I was asked, do I think that having celiac, having the diagnosis from a young age, kind of forced me to grow up sooner? And I didn't really think so, but then I realised that I've had to advocate for myself from quite a young age. I've had to know exactly what cross-contamination is. I've had to fight for my right when other people don't understand it. Even when I'm just going for an ice cream with my friends, I've had to know exactly what kind of ice cream I can have. Is there a separate tub for it in the back? Because I can't have the one out the front because it's been cross-contaminated with the wheat cones, the gluten cones. Just little things like that. I think you guys have taught me from a very young age about cross-contamination, about where are the best places to eat, what to look out for. So I think that's really helped me as well.
I was going to say that something else that being a celiac kind of may have helped you from a young age is that because we were in touch quite a lot with Coeliac UK, the charity, and because we speak Welsh, we were quite often asked to do interviews. Do you remember? And so from quite young, really, you've done TV and radio interviews about celiac disease, but because you always spoke really well, and here you are now working in journalism with your own podcast, and I think maybe you had like a bit of training and kind of started to realise that this was somewhere where you could flourish. What do you think?
It's all thanks to celiac disease that this podcast exists.
When you were a teenager, I think about 13 or 14, all you wanted to do was to be an influencer with your own YouTube channel. And I'd say, oh, just get a real job. I'm still waiting.
Aww.
Ouch. Okay.
She has got a real job as well.
Just wait till I make a lot of money and, I can get you guys in a really good home. If you're lucky. Yeah, this is what I mean with the humour. I think we've pretty much covered everything in the celiac world and the LGMD world. Obviously, I'm really grateful for your guys' time and for opening up about this because, I mean, you can see here, they've printed out the questions that I had drafted out and they've written notes on it. I know no other dedicated interviewees it just sums you up as well. And because there were two of you, and if you hadn't written everything out and planned this beforehand, Mam would have just answered all the questions without giving Dad a chance.
Could I just say you've forgotten one question? We did touch on it, but...
Go on then. What's the question? What is it that I missed?
It was the advice to other parents.
I was going to get to that actually,
okay.
But you know, it's fine, whatever. Sorry. I just wanted to take a second, if that's all right with you guys, to just say thank you. And yes, a question that I ask all my interviewees, and I know Dad, you touched a bit on it earlier about, advice to other parents, but is there anything else that you wanted to add? Is there anything that you think other parents would benefit from knowing, especially, if they have young children with new diagnoses, or any kind of scenario that you might have gone through that you want to impart your wisdom?
I would say two things, if I may. Firstly, if you're pre-diagnosis and you have a child that has symptoms that you know as a mum or as parents, you think there's something not right here, please advocate for yourself, go to the doctor, keep pushing. We went to our GP and our health visitor, I don't know how many times, saying that there was something wrong with you eating before somebody took us seriously. And it took 6 years until, from the age of 1 to 7. So please keep pushing, keep asking. The other thing I would say is, if you do have a diagnosis, reach out to find your people, find your community, find other parents, whether that's locally or whether it's, through the wonders of the internet. Find people that are going through similar things. If there's any chance you could meet, or even on Zoom, and chat through your experience, it really helps us, when we did do that, to be able to just think, oh my goodness, you get it. And you found the same, haven't you, going to conferences? You've met for the first time other people with the same thing that you have, even, as a sort of an older teenager. And the first time being able to say, oh, you get me, you understand me, you're the same as me. And we found that as well. So reaching out is really important.
And you yourself have interviewed people with similar conditions, and you just got on so well. I've listened to your podcast. It's like sister from another mister. And that's great, because it makes you realise that, hey, I'm not alone. And there's somebody else going through this, and it's comforting. Also, if you've got a diagnosis of celiac disease and you're fearful of the change to your diet, get yourself a crock pot, a slow cooker, because you can do so much with gluten-free meals. Our kitchen is full of gluten-free recipe books, and we use it every week. It's just so easy. It's changed my life.
Oh, air fryer.
It's changed my wife.
Double drawed air fryer, gluten-free side, gluten side. Absolutely, it's amazing.
Yeah, lifesaver.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those interesting pieces of advice. That's such a good point. I hadn't thought about the gluten-free recipe books. They are lifesavers, really, especially if you don't really know where to start when it comes to gluten-free diets. Becky XL is your gal. If you want her on the pod, please bombard her with messages. It'd be really cool to get her on the pod.
I just wanted to emphasise, like Dad did, about how our faith has helped us. And I think through all of this, I've never worried, like you said. I've just had a peace, and the Bible talks about how we can have a peace that it's beyond understanding. It's above our comprehension. And I really feel that it doesn't make sense that we would have 3 children with medical conditions and not kind of be constantly kind of worried and thinking about it. And I really feel that God's got this. He's in control. He created you, and he knows you. He's just helped us. We're just doing the best we can, but he's caring for all of you.
That's so nice, and it takes the pressure off of you as well, because there's nothing you can do really, is there, but do your best. And I think you guys have done a great job in raising us, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you again for doing the best that you can for us and never giving up on us, even though sometimes we can be a pain. And I know, Dad, your knees are going, and probably having to lift me off the floor whenever I fall, or carry me up the stairs like you're going to have to do in a minute, because I really need a wee. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
I've wanted you guys on the podcast for so long, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Dad's got his own podcast, guys. What's it called? Check it out.
Oh no. DB2 Table Talk.
It's
DB2 Table Talk. It's about IT and software developing, right?
And stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the only thing this podcast is missing is cake. So I think next time we should have like some gluten-free cake. What do you think? Or maybe we could have different ones. We could like a tasting session. Get Becky XL on.
And make the audience feel really bad.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, there is one more thing missing from this podcast, and that is our dog. So, Dad, if you want to bring Taffy in. Hi, Taffy. So here's Taffy, our little doggy. He's 10 and a half now, and he is the rock. He is our family rock. He is gorgeous, and he wants to say hello. And my podcast wouldn't be complete without a Taffy cameo, so here he is. And that's Taffy's contribution. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And Taffy, please don't step on my laptop, otherwise you will stop the recording and accidentally delete it. A menace. Taffy, what's it like being in the best family? Exactly, yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to follow and rate this podcast 5 stars. Thank you so much to Cure LGMD 2I for sponsoring this podcast. As always, we love you so much. And I will see you guys very soon in my next episode. Bye.
Bye. Au revoir.
Bye.